For this week's craft video, I'm going to show you how to make some really simple slime recipes at home. If you've ever made slime before, you know that it can get really complicated when you start having to buy things like glue and borax or liquid starch. And some people don't like to use those chemicals because they can burn your hands and they can be unsafe to touch. So we're going to look at some slimes that you can make with things that are probably already in your kitchen cabinets. The first slime I'm going to show you is really easy, but I like to call it kind of a process slime because it takes a little bit of time to get it just right, but once you get it, you'll know it's right. The first ingredient that you need is some cornstarch. And then the second ingredient that you're going to need is dish soap, and you can choose any brand, any color, it doesn't really matter. I picked this blue color. I will warn you though, whatever color you choose, it's going to be lighter than what the actual soap color looks like. So even though this is like a really bright, pretty blue, it's probably going to look more like a light turquoise or like a seafoam green kind of color by the time we finish mixing our slime. Some other things that you're going to need to make this slime are some mixing bowls, or in my case I'm going to use some disposable cups so cleanup is a little bit easier. You're going to need something for stirring. I would recommend using something like a popsicle stick, maybe even the end of a spoon. I'm going to use this wooden dowel to do my mixing though, but if you don't have one, that's okay. There are other things to use. You'll also need your spoon for the scooping side so you can get your cornstarch out easier. To prepare this slime, you're going to slowly add cornstarch to your dish soap. Depending on the amount of slime you want to make will depend on how much soap you put into your first cup. So I took one of my cups and I only did a tiny little bit of soap at the bottom because for the sake of showing you how this works in the video, I didn't want to go too crazy and take too long to make the slime. So using a small amount will make me just a little bit and enough to show you what to do. In my second cup, I loaded it up with my second ingredient, some of this cornstarch. And guys, don't worry, cornstarch tends to make a bit of a mess, but if you have a wet paper towel nearby, it wipes up very easy and it'll be like nothing was ever there. So when you see the powder, don't panic. It might make a mess, but it's easy to clean up and get out of your clothes later. Once you have all of your supplies ready and assembled, you're prepared to start mixing this slime. Like I said before, this slime is kind of a process to make. It's not something where you can just add a certain part of this and a certain part of that and come out with the perfect slime every time. This one requires some careful mixing, so what I recommend is go ahead and have your dish soap and your mixing utensil ready. And then over here we have our cornstarch. Instead of adding a big giant scoop all at once, we're going to go kind of slow. So I'm doing about half a teaspoon here, and I'm going to dump it into the soap. I'm going to go ahead and sit down my spoon, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to start slowly working my cornstarch into my dish soap. And you will immediately notice that the soap is going to start thickening up and look less runny and slimy. If you've ever cooked with cornstarch before, it's typically used to make foods thicker, for example, like gravy. So it's going to have the same effect on your slime. Once you get that first scoop of cornstarch mixed in, you're going to come over here, get a little bit more, dump it in, and repeat. So we're just going to keep stirring, and as you go, you're going to notice your slime gets thicker and thicker. Let's go ahead and do that one more time together. I'm going to go into my cornstarch, get just a little bit, dump it in, and then slowly mix it up and make it thicker and thicker and thicker. I'm at the point where I am ready to get this slime out of this mixing bowl and start working it to get it nice and finished. So since I'm done adding cornstarch for now, I'm going to go ahead and take this and just set it to the side so I don't accidentally knock it over. And now I'm going to show you what my slime looks like so far. If you look at it, as I move the dowel around, it looks kind of crumbly. And that's kind of weird, right? Like we don't want a dry slime. So I'm going to show you how to get this slime working the way it should. This part is going to get a little messy. You can see I already kind of dug into mine and I have some cornstarch on my hands, but you're going to take out your mixing utensil and set that to the side for later. And then we're going to get in here and you're going to notice that even though this slime looks a little bit crumbly, once you pull it out and you start mashing it a little bit, all those little crumbly pieces will start to smash together. Now, I would recommend taking your new slime and really working it a little bit. It's going to feel a little rough at first, but that's okay. We can always fix that. I'm going to smush, smush, smush. And if you notice that your slime looks a little crumbly, see how mine has some little cracks in it and they're forming and it's breaking apart a little bit, You can fix this problem by smushing it out. And very slowly, I would recommend doing it a drop at a time, add a little extra dish soap. So I'm just gonna add 1 little drop, move my soap, and then I'm gonna fold that extra soap I added back up into my slime. We're just gonna keep smushing and smushing and smushing. And again, this is a process, so if it's a little dry, that's okay. You can always go back, add a little bit of dish soap as you go, and get it nice and squishy. So after lots of careful mixing and squishing, I was able to make my cornstarch and dish soap slime. I like this one because it's like a little fluffier. It's almost kind of like a halfway point between modeling clay and slime. Awesome.